Welcome back. In this video, we are going to implement a custom progress dialog as we have done multiple times already when something happened in the background. And now you already should know when things are happening in the background, because that's really what we prepared in the last few videos. So for example, when we do enqueue here, so pretty much when we wait for the callback of the weather response, that is something where we should potentially display the dialog, and then at one point we should hide the dialog again once it's done downloading or once we have a response, pretty much. All right, so please try to implement this yourself. Pause the video, and if you don't know how to create a custom progress dialog, then check out one of the chapters where we did that, because we have done it already multiple times. So I think it really makes sense for you to try it yourself. All right, so therefore we are first of all required to add a new layout. So here, right click, new layout resource file, and I will call this one dialog custom progress. All right, and I'm not gonna go over everything that we're gonna build in here. Basically, it's just going to be what we've done multiple times before, as I said. So it's going to be a linear layout with a progress bar and a text view. But you can already see I'm using dimensions here. So I'm using dimensions for the progress bar size, its margin, then I'm using a string here. So we are going to add those to our values as well. So go over to your strings, and here we will need to add one string, which is just the please wait string. So what I'm gonna add here is the following, which will be please wait, and then this will be 3 horizontal dots, so a dot dot dot, so to speak. Okay, then we can go ahead and add the dimensions. So we don't have an XML file for dimensions here. I'm just gonna create a dimensions XML, and in here I'm just gonna add the 4 dimensions that we need. So main content padding progress dialog, which I set to 10 density pixels, progress bar size, progress bar margin end, and progress bar text size. And these are the ones that we need in the dialog custom progress. All right, so that's pretty much it for the custom dialog. Now we can create the code for it. So I'm just going to create a variable here for, first of all, a global variable, which will be our dialog. All right, so here private var mProgress dialog, which will be of type dialog nullable. So I'm gonna set that to null for now. And then I need to import dialog here, and now I can go ahead and create the functions for it. So let's go ahead and create our functions down here at the very bottom. One will be to show the custom dialog, so show custom progress dialog. And I think it really doesn't make sense for me to type this because we have typed this so many times already. So show custom progress dialog, which will just set our progress dialog variable that we just created to be a dialog. Then we set the content view to be our dialog custom progress, which is this XML file that we prepared. So it's going to look like this, what you can see here. All right. And then we say it should be shown. Now, of course, after we have added the show functionality, we also need to add the hide functionality. So I'm going to add another function here, which will be hide progress dialog. So it will check if the progress dialog is not null. And if that's the case, then I want to dismiss this dialog, and that is a function of dialog. All right, so dismiss, of course, is this function in dialog.java, which simply closes this progress dialog in our case. Now comes the interesting part, because so far this is really basic stuff at this point, because you have seen it already multiple times and probably also implemented it multiple times. Now we have to find good spots where we want to, for example, show the progress dialog and where we want to hide it. So showing it will be when we get the weather location or location weather details. So at this point, we want to know the weather for a specific location. And at this point, we also do something in the background, right? So here we prepare everything, and then finally when we enqueue, that's the point where we actually do something in the background. Okay, so here just before that, before we start enqueuing or downloading something, that's where I want to show my custom progress dialog. All right. And then what would be the good points to close it again? Well, as soon as we get a response here. So if the response is success, for example, then I want to hide it. So I'm just going to say hide progress dialog, which is my function that I just created. And then another good spot to hide it as well is going to be on failure. All right, so here we also want to hide our progress dialog. So either when it worked and we have a successful response, or when we had a failure and it didn't work. All right, and now at this point, we should be able to see our progress dialog once we start the application and we enqueue, which means we download something. So there we saw it for a very short amount of time. And that is because we really just download something super small and we have a good connection. So that is our current environment. Of course, we could test how it would behave if we have different internet connections. Okay, so here, let's say we have only GPRS. So it's 1G or something like that. I think Edge is 2G, GPRS should be 1G. So if we test that again with this super bad internet connection, then it could potentially take a little longer for it to download even this little file, which is just a couple of kilobytes, right? All right, even there, I think the file is just too small. But when it comes to bigger files, then it's a different story, right? So here, maybe it's also because we have Wi-Fi, so let's turn that one off. Let's go to GPRS again. Let's test it once again. All right, there we are. So you can see now with a bad internet connection with GPRS, this takes a lot longer. So it still disappeared, but it took multiple seconds. I mean, you should never have the situation where you only have GPRS, I hope. You should at least have Edge, no matter where you are. But I don't know, maybe in some places it's still the case that the best internet connection that you will get is going to be GPRS. Now let's test it with Edge, just to see how much quicker it will be. So let's run it again. You can see even Edge was rather fast. So you should always have a rather good connection. Okay, so that is something that you should check out as well. Just seeing how good your internet connection will be and play around with it just to see the influence that it has on your application. Especially when it comes to downloading something. In this case, we're just downloading a couple of kilobytes, but let's say you're downloading a file, a video file or an image, then this could really have a huge impact on your app. All right, so I'd say let's go to the next video. See you there.